It's official. Danny Rick has joined Red Bull Racing for 2023. The announcement is out. Papers are signed, documents to what his contract stipulations are, the money, the pay. Unsure right now. I'll probably find that information out later. Just thought I'd jump on real quick and let you all know that Danny is going to be making a move to Red Bull. Okay, so with Danny making a move to Red Bull, what does this mean for Perez? We already know about the situation that occurred with Perez and Max and the Brazilian GP in regards to are supposed to be in connection with what took place in Monaco, which was 15 races prior to Brazil. I'm not really buying that situation. I'm not buying the fact that Perez crashed on purpose because if Perez did indeed crash on purpose, right? We got all types of telemetry. What's up? Made a decision best for him, and that's what it's gonna have to be. What's up, Reezy? But if indeed Perez crashed on purpose, then that's a bigger issue. Not only for Perez, but for the entire Red Bull team. That's a bigger issue. You're talking about a situation that would stem or that would be similar to Alonso with the crash gate with PK. So we got all types of telemetry. Just like Hamilton didn't get a penalty for the red flag situation in the last practice, I think it was, because they looked at telemetry, he lifted, they saw that he did what he could once he realized that it was a red flag situation from yellow. So if Red Bull put this out here, that indeed Max did the despicable thing that he did for not only towards Perez, but towards the team, then where is the telemetry and where is the proof? I don't see that that's something that the FIA can just ignore if that actually took place. What's up, Sylvia Kelly? What's up, Mary? That's not something they can ignore. So, like I said, what does that mean for Perez? With Perez having that type of situation out there, that type of energy, then you got Max's mom talking about, or supposedly claim Max's mom put it out there after Max decided that he wasn't going to be a team player. He wasn't going to be a teammate, that Perez was cheating on his wife. Perez has a lot of things to think about when it comes to if Red Bull Racing is a team he wants to be a part of. Whereas of now on the other side of the grid, now joining the team is Daniel. And Daniel saying that he's happy to be a part of Red Bull. I know Red Bull employees or teammates talked highly about Daniel, which is cool because a lot of us like Daniel's character. I met Daniel in person and he was cool in the short, brief time that we had a little shoe competition and we talked. He was a cool dude, very approachable, very nice. But now we're talking about performance and opportunities on the grid. So we already know, like a lot of people don't like Daniel Ricciardo. A lot of people don't like Daniel Ricciardo, and that's completely understandable. A lot of people think that he is washed, and that indeed might be true. I think Daniel has had some highlight moments to show that he still has the ability to drive a Formula One car by far better than Latifi or even Mick Schumacher. So if those guys off the grid, but if you could bring back Nico, telling me you can't tell me Daniel doesn't deserve a place in Formula One. So with that being the case, what is it going to do for him going to Red Bull? Well, I've said this before and I've explained the dynamic, all right? If Danny goes to Haas or Williams, really that's a regression, a constant regression, like a constant decline or demotion from all the way from when he's with Red Bull, then he leaves Red Bull, goes to Renault, then he leaves Renault, goes to McLaren. Now the Renault McLaren move, that's kind of a step up. From Renault to McLaren was kind of a step up, all right? But still, it shows, it's just like if you looked at somebody's job history. You look at their resume, and in the past 3 seasons, in the past 3 years, they got 12 different jobs. Well, shit, either you're not reliable, you can't perform the task, or what the hell happened to these jobs? Like, there's going to be a big question mark about why you could not obtain, retain employment or a seat on the grid, and you just kept going down, right? So if he goes to Haas or Williams, that's a down. That's like the back door before you're out of the grid. And we see this now with Latifi and Mick, right? Latifi and Mick. Williams, Haas, unable to perform up to what the team expected, unable to perform up to what other teams might look at and say are promising results, and they don't, and they're out the back door, right? So if Danny goes there, that's initially what he's taking the risk on, like, I'm right out the back door. Whereas if he goes to Red Bull, it's a step up to him because right now Red Bull is the best team, quote unquote, on the grid, all right? We can't ignore the fact of the cost cap breach. That's a fact. We can't ignore the fact that 2021 was a scandal. That's a fact. So, quote unquote, the best team on the grid. I would say more realistically and factually, the best car on the grid is the RB18, powered by Honda, not Red Bull powertrains. Please understand that is the best car on the grid. So for Daniel, that is indeed the best decision to make. Okay. You don't want to go to an underperforming team like Williams or Haas and get outperformed by Albon or Nico. Yeah, that's not something you want to happen for you. That's not what you want for yourself, right? And Williams is trying to move on and move up. They got Logan, and we just had a live about Logan Sargent and some of the things surrounding his family and that, but we're gonna see what he does on the grid. But Daniel, just think about this. In 2022, Daniel is 11th in the World Driving Constructing Championship standings. He was 8th in 2021 with McLaren, and before that, in 2020, he was 5th. He had his best result in the last 3 seasons with Renault, which is now Alpine, still powered by Renault power unit, I believe. So I always said I thought Daniel made a haste and fast move getting away from Renault at that point in time where I know Renault was smoke bombs. Like, I did not like the Renault power unit at all. Like, I counted on seeing that yellow and black car continuously lighted up like 4th of July, smoke in the air, because that's what they were doing. But Renault hit a moment where they really locked down and things were changing, and then got Alpine, where Alpine legitimately, they got a few DNFs last season. Let's not overlook that, but let's just not overlook that they were a better team in 2022 than they were in 2021, in my opinion. I think Daniel should have stayed there. I think he moved prematurely. He had an awesome, nice contract there. His contract money is not going to look the same. Remember what I said some episodes back. I don't think Daniel gets above 15 million going forward unless he does something astronomically great on the grid. So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of comes out about his contractual pay and what his terms are and for how long he's going to be there. But this also plays a pawn role on a chessboard where Red Bull knows circumstances are within their toxic team, involving Perez, involving Max, involving Christian, involving Marco with his whack ass. They are there with this situation, right? So with that being the case, is this also not a move in case Perez decides he's done with Red Bull? We have a driver that is very familiar to the team, not this RB18, but it shouldn't be hard given the grade. The damn learning curve is cut in half because the car's the fastest on the grid. That should not be difficult. Now we can throw Daniel in there, an experienced driver, somebody that they know they're going to be able to have a yes man in Daniel, because he's not in a moment right now in his life to call shots. Daniel will be a perfect yes man. This is what we need you to do. You're a second fiddle at best ever. When we give you orders, you take it. You support Max with the utmost support, and we don't give a damn what Max does for you. That's what you're going to have to do, and Daniel's going to be willing to do that so long as that puts him in the RB18 at some point in time, and he can perform and get podiums and look a lot better than he did with McLaren. It raises his driver stock. Racer X210, but Red Bull let him be competitive. But what? No, I don't think so. But would Red Bull let him be competitive? No, I do not think Red Bull is going to let Daniel be competitive. Red Bull is going to allow Daniel to make podiums because he's in the fastest car on the grid. Now, here's the flip side of that coin, right? Let's say Daniel gets in the RB18 and doesn't even match Perez's, Checo's ability. Is not even able to put an RB18 on podium. That is a bigger indictment and a bigger risk than it was going to Haas or Williams, where those cars aren't up to par. The RB18 is up to par by far. If Daniel gets in that car and is unable to perform to what is expected of just us as viewers, it's a wrap for him leaving that. I don't believe there's not one single team on the grid that will say that and say, you know what? But no, there's no buts. That car is the fastest car on the grid, and you couldn't take it to a podium? Oh, yeah, Daniel's done. He's done. It's a wash. He's out of there. That's a guaranteed. He is out of there. I don't mean out of the team. I mean out of Formula One. Daniel's out of there. All right. Now, what's going to be with Perez? Perez has an opportunity to go to any other team. Any other team that doesn't have a locked up contract or isn't willing to snub a driver and put him in a reserve role versus putting him in the 2 or 1 seat. Perez has these opportunities available to him. All right. So, but where would he go? I don't know. Okay, I can't tell you that. Piastri and Lando are locking up in McLaren. I think McLaren's pretty comfortable with their situation right now, especially with the other 2 drivers, Alex, they got in the wings. Where else could he go? He's definitely not going to go to Williams or Haas. I mean, that check would have to be stupid in order for him to even think about going there. All right. So then what do you got? Ferrari. That's the team that I would like to see Perez with. Ferrari. If Perez is in the F1, whatever it's going to be next season, currently the F175, that's crazy, paired with Charles. That could actually work. But Carlos is said to be the more analytical driver, and I might have to give him that. I might have to give Carlos that as far as the way he digests and kind of looks at the grid and looks at what's going on around the track. Charles makes some mistakes where he's got it in the bag and he just mind screws himself and just does something that he knows damn well the car is not going to be able to do, and it's done, okay? But Perez and Ferrari, pretty nice, right? Pretty nice. Then you got Ocon and the Alpine team. Maybe, right? Maybe. Do they say, maybe they say, hey, Ocon, Gasly, which one's the best out of the 2? When's Ocon's contract up? I'm not sure right now. And maybe they slide. Maybe that's somewhere he will want to go. I don't think so. Maybe. What if Aston Martin gets their shit together? Aston Martin starts competing, looking good. Alonso, come on, like, you're not going to pick Alonso over Perez. That's a no-go. You're not going to pick that. You just, Stroll's going to be there. That's Dad's team. He's not kicking his son out the door. All right, Mary Beanie, Danny Rick will get screwed by Red Bull because Nick going to AlphaTauri. They will get rid of Checo and put Nick in the seat he should have stayed with Renault. Thank you, Mary Beanie. Another point, thank you, dear, that we have also made and I have made. Nick DeVries is in AlphaTauri, which we know is the Red Bull junior team, okay? Red Bull have 4 cars and 2 teams on the grid, which I don't think should continually be the case. If Nick does his thing, they're going to bring Nick DeVries up, and it's going to be a Netherlands-Dutch team together, period. It's going to be Max Verstappen and Nick DeVries, which we've seen reports that they are giddy. I don't know how that relationship worked when Nick's in there with Mercedes. That might be a double agent situation for all I know. I have no clue. All right. But that is a very good a good thing that Mary said and that I've brought up in lives, that Nick DeVries could very well make his way to the RBA team. Now they have Daniel Ricciardo. They get ready to get rid of Perez. They bring Nick in. Daniel is talking about helping and supporting the team with simulation and commercials. What did we say? We talked about this. That is a PR coverage for Red Bull trash crap racing. That's not as far as the car and the development. Adrian Newey and Honda, great job on that car, period. I'm talking about the culture. Daniel Rick is a positive spinoff for Red Bull Racing with all the toxicity that team has, all right? What we got? Big shout out to your boys got him. I like that shit. Your boys got him. I like that profile name. Big shout out to you. Don't forget, the single is coming out tomorrow. The Flex Up single comes out tomorrow. A banger. When you play it, turn it up and listen. Turn it up, listen. It's a banger, all right? So, yeah, that's what I got to say about that situation. I told you all there was going to be a lot of driver movement going on. It is already happening. Teams are already getting into the thick of it. Like, to get a handle on this car, this new platform going into 2023, they want the edge as soon as possible. These drivers are out there already driving, testing. Mary Beanie, big shout out for the super chat. Nick having cozy dinners with Maxi Pad and his dad. She's not lying. Nick DeVries having dinners, and even Max talking to Nick DeVries about talking to Marco about an opportunity at AlphaTauri. And what happens? And remember, when Nick got out of that Williams car and put it on points, he was quick to say he doesn't have any control about where he goes. That was nothing but Nick trying to get in front of a situation that he knew people weren't going to look too highly upon, given where he was coming from Mercedes and going to a Red Bull team. He already knew how that was going to look. So he wanted to make it look like I didn't have a choice. Nick, we already know you got a choice. Stop playing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just hold your head high, hold your balls, and say, yeah, that's what I chose. It's best for my career. I'm looking at trying to get in the RB18, which is the fastest car on the grid, so I can accelerate my career pathway and my check. I will respect that. Don't tell me you don't have a choice. Your boys got him. Dropping Sainz for Perez is a bit backwards, in my opinion. I feel you. I feel you. That's why I said Sainz, analytical, going for it. But I think Sainz is also disappointed in what he's received with Ferrari thus far. And I don't know if Sainz is going to like the fact that right now they're not choosing Carlos as their number one. And Carlos has done a lot of cutting grass in the F-175. Let's just be honest. Perez and Sainz, I can't literally say Sainz is a better driver than Perez, especially defense-wise. I can't say that. So I don't really know if it's a backstep. I can't commit to saying it's a backstep because Sainz, to me, has not shown this season to be a better driver than Perez, in my opinion. I've seen Sainz cut a lot of grass in the F-175. I've seen Sainz get a new floor and break it. So I've seen him do some things that I can't say he's a better driver than Checo at this point in time. We'll have to see next season. So I can't say it would be a backstep because, one, Sainz does not defend like Perez, right? So if you want a teammate that's going to help Charles, hey, that's going to be it. We already know Carlos is going for that number one seat, which he should, but we've seen it kind of almost be a tug-of-war situation, very, very minuscule, not as big as what we've seen at Red Bull, but very minor, where Carlos thinks he should be the number one driver. And if Ferrari don't indeed believe that, and they want Charles to be their number one, then yeah, dropping Sainz and picking up Checo would be the next go. All right, Charles is going to be the future. Checo's older. He's coming in from a situation where he was already playing second fiddle and giving scraps. Coming into Ferrari where they will allow their drivers to race. We've seen them be like, "Hey, drive it out." We've seen this with Ferrari this season. We've seen them say that. We haven't seen that from Red Bull. All right, so not necessarily a bad move or a bad situation, in my opinion, although I can understand why you would say you think that Sainz will be a backstep. Perez will be a backstep to Sainz. I can't completely agree with that based off the body of work that we've seen this season. All right, even in a 75, Sainz still what? Sainz came in fifth. Perez came in third. Charles came in second. So even if you go based off body of work this season, it's not factually a backstep based off numbers. And we also know the F-175 was the closest car that was going to be to the RB18 to compete with the RB18. And we also know this. We're talking about Charles and Ferrari screwed their ability to at least bring home the Drivers' Championship. Charles messed up a couple of times, pushing when he could have secured points to keep him in it. And the F-175 delivered an unreliable power unit, not only to themselves, but also to their clients, their customers. Alfa Romeo, okay? But Haas, we saw the power unit fail several times in the season. Your boys got them. In your opinion, should Ferrari favor Leclerc or Sainz? Man, I said it in the season. I thought that they would end up switching their loyalty to, or not loyalty, but I said it in the season where I thought they would end up at least switching their allegiance and choice over to Sainz. I thought that they would do that. I think, honestly, at some point they should have moved to go with Sainz. I thought Sainz proved to make better decisions in more heated areas than Charles did. And so I do think that they should have, I think they should have went over to Sainz at some point in time, just based off what I saw Charles doing, what I saw Sainz do. I thought Charles pushed in moments where it was looking, but, hey, that's what I thought at some point in time. So I do agree with you on that. I thought they would start favoring Carlos versus Charles at a point in time because Charles was definitely fumbling up some things, right? So if you compare those two, I thought Carlos did a better job under pressure than Charles did under pressure in moments in the season. So That's what I think. That's what I think. So I can't agree with you on that. Definitely, I'm fully alongside with you on that if that's how you felt. I said it on a video several times early in the season. So like I said, Danny Rick to Red Bull is official. Very happy to help them with simulators and commercials and all that other good stuff to try to give them a positive spin. Will he get his opportunity to drive that car in a GP? Will he? I don't know. Will Perez stay with Red Bull, or is there going to be something that is going on that we don't quite have the knowledge of right now that Red Bull is preparing for before the season comes, where we see that maybe Perez leaves? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see how these things unfold. We got several months to see how this goes. Subscribe to the channel. Like if you want to be in the in circle. Join the channel. Other perks come with that. We are developing other things going on before next season comes that you are going to have access to. Tomorrow, Flex Up comes out. iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, big time distribution. Get it, check it, listen, blast it. It's going on. All right, y'all stay easy. I might be back later. You never know. Breaking news might come again before I got a podcast guest that's coming on by way of California. We will see what happens. All right, y'all be easy. Peace. Go eat, drink water, take your vitamins, get healthy. It's the wintertime. Flu around here. It's not a game.